the Captain's Log, Stardate 7/9/2024. My name is Danjevin. Today we're going to be taking a look at the newest Soong-type android to the Star Trek universe. We have Fred. And after that we're going to take a look at Replication, one of the biggest mysteries of the game, one of the most underutilized mechanics that can really help you out with galaxy pre-farming, with finishing off your crew, of course. It's the most common use. But we're going to dig into it a little bit deeper, see how you can best use it without breaking your credits bank. But now let's take a look at one of the largest wasted opportunities that Discovery had to offer, and the great many flaws that our Trek fans like to point out in the Star Trek Discovery series. I think one of the biggest injustices was introducing a new Soong-type android. We've only known of 3 so far, and now the 4th one is in a single scene, and, well, I won't give you any spoilers, but we're not going to be seeing a whole lot of Fred in one piece. So this card was, wasted potential in the show, and I think in the game as well. We'll get to the big book in just a second here, but looking at the skill set here, we have a Dip Psi Eng crew. So just that Eng kicker and Dip Psi as a very common skill set that we see very frequently. That kind of leaves us looking at maybe the ship ability or the collections for some redeeming quality. Well, there's no text in the text box for the ship ability, so let's keep shopping here. And the collections here, we have only 2 on debut. We'll take a look at the future collection potential in just a moment here. The Discovery, I count, I think every 3rd threshold you get a skill boost, so not that special for me. It's the biggest problem I have with Fred is this right here. In the time portal, he is in this week's 6-pack. This is a cash crew. You need to spend a tremendous amount of dilithium to have a prayer of getting him. Now, just before the portal update happens, they are trying to market a few crew to us. Harry Mudd, who those of us who aren't rich with citations have left it 4 out of 5 stars. So a little bit of a teaser in this to maybe finish it off for those people. Don't do it. 6-packs are a waste, kids. The odds of you getting exactly what you want are slim. Let's look at the big book. Let's see what the big book has to say here. So here's Tier 5 debut on this card. Voyager rank in the top 100. We'll see the breakdown on that in just a moment, but not a lot else to offer. We saw that ship ability just not worthwhile, and the shuttle potential relatively high with a kind of a large diplomacy base here of well over 2,000, but again, there are a dime a dozen. Dip bases have been one of the most frequently released crew over the past year, so we're not hurting for more of these, and certainly don't need to fall all over ourselves spending cash on them. So about that voyage rank, let's see here. So we have the number 2 Dip Psi Eng. Let's see who else is in that exact triplet here. Well, experienced traveler Wesley. If you picked up copies of him, I think he was in an event about 3 weeks ago. You may already have a better crew here. In fact, significantly better in the top 30. And then also beating out the Phantasms data, which we got some free copies of about 6 months ago. And then if you expand this here and just look at the pair, well, here's number 1 with a bullet. The competition here is Mira Tuvok. For anybody who has a mere 4,000 dilithium to spend from the faction store, they can get their first star in Mira Tuvok, rather than just grasping at straws and spending dilithium on random draws of the pack to see if you could even get a copy. So yeah, forget it. Forget it, Fred. You'll be showing up in some random behold years down the line, and you'll be a curiosity when you do. But in the meantime, I'm sorry, sir. No redeeming you in the show or in the game. So today my little spiel is going to be on Replication, so I'd like to jump back over to the game. So something that's really not talked about a whole lot, and other than just, I don't have any credits. Why don't you have any credits? Well, I keep replicating these gold equipment. So whenever you do replicate gold equipment, let's take a look at Captain Akuna here, the outrageous Akuna, and let's take a look at this 5-star equipment. So this is going to cost me, I'm out of replication. Well, spoiler alert, we're going to be using replication a lot. This, I think it's 225,000 credits to replicate a single gold equipment on a crew. So you're looking at about $1 million worth of replication here if we were to replicate all 4 pieces of a gold crew's top level. It looks like we luck out here and we get a purple here, which is significantly cheaper. But very frequently, not only will you have to replicate gold at the top level, but also at level 9, when you hit level 80 and 90, and then even lower than that, you may see some gold pop up, especially on older crew. They don't do it so much recently, but some older crew were murder. in terms of the amount of gold equipment that you had to throw on them. You may not need to replicate the top level, the gold equipment. So, you know, if you have been disciplined and used the chronometrics tool and you've got a really full inventory of all the different components that your crew are going to need, you may just need to dig down. Maybe it's just a single faction equipment that you're missing here. In this case, these 2-star holo programs can be hard to find. The only sources through Section 31 missions. You can no longer get them through tank shuttles. You have to run them at 3 hours in order to even have a chance. So this is most likely what you're going to need to be replicating. But if this is the only thing blocking you and the rest of it's just going to come from missions that you can farm up during skirmish, that you can farm up during the critical chronotons event, then just replicate the piece that you need. These 2-star faction equipments are probably the most common one that you'll need to do. I think they clock in at about a little under 3,000 credits a piece. So it's not going to cut into your budget for crew retrieval or your budget for just equipping crew. It can be expensive just putting the equipment on the crew. Another point about replication that I'll make here is that you don't always have to look at just that one component, that one piece of equipment. Sometimes there's a piece of equipment that you can replicate that is a little bit higher up on the chain. That's not a base component, a base piece of equipment. One of my favorites here, and there's a bunch of them, single pot whiskey though is one of my favorites. These single pot whiskeys here take an awful lot of coffee. For some reason, I guess they gotta stave off the hangover here. So each one of these takes 2 coffees at that level, and then down here this also takes an additional 2 coffees. So those coffees, those 0-star coffees, are used for Galaxy. They only come from an away mission, so they're kind of tough to get. So it's kind of an efficiency here. If you could just replicate the one top level single pot whiskey and spend your 3,000 or so credits, then you're going to be saving yourself 4 separate either chronoton spends trying to get those coffees, or 4 separate replications down the road. So what I like to do is I like to keep characters open that just need that have it as a locked. I don't want to level this guy up to 30 here because I want this slot locked, because the moment I earn the equipment, like take a look here, take a look at Mirror Regent Worf here. So I left his Klingon Disruptor pistol open here. He's leveled up just enough that slot became open, and now it started to drop from Dabo, drop from Gauntlet, and so I have a whole lot of copies here, and I can't replicate any longer. Once this plus sign shows up, you're stopped from replicating. But here we go. Still locked here is the Klingon Warnog, so I can feel free to replicate this 2-star, really difficult to find 2-star Klingon Warnog. This is a really rare drop chance. Don't ever run the space battle. If you see this here, check the chronometrics first and see what the cost is. You'll be surprised at how expensive that is. It's way cheaper just to replicate. You'll be saving yourself a ton of crons and a ton of credits. Some more equipment I like to replicate. I like the 2- and 3-star Champagne, and even 4-star, which is a lot rarer to need. They get you a ton of savings in terms of those 0-star holo programs. Engineering lessons, a little bit less so. They save you some hyperspanners, which can be expensive. Psychological evaluation holo program, again, saves you on the 0-star holo programs. They can be a real bear to get if you don't see a Section 31 event that you get the faction winner bonus for, or you're not prepared to tank those shuttles and run them. Those holo programs can be difficult. Also, social lesson requires a lot of faction exclusive items, like some ancient films, 1-star and 2 stars, as well as a 0-star holo program. And finally, tequila, which is a royal pain. It requires just a ton of 0-star identification codes. Again, an away team mission only item, and each level of tequila doubles the prior level. So sometimes you get lucky and the game gives you a little bit of a freebie with that, but most of the time you're going to be out a doubling number of 0-star identification codes, up to the point where for a 4-star I think it costs you 16 of them. Forget about it, just replicate that. No one needs that. So we have talked about not using replication to save some credits. We've talked about using replication in a much better way to drill down and get those really hard to find faction items. But what happens if you are flush with faction items? You know, my account is mature. I've done a lot of farming. I've been very disciplined over the years, and so now I'm at the point where I just don't need any more holo programs. I've got hundreds. I've got hundreds of everything. So what I've been doing now is I've been using replication to get ahead for my Galaxy pre-farming. So on the chronometric sheet, I know that one of the common items that I frequently run out of is hyperspanners, especially the Deep Space Nine ones. So I keep a couple of crew open here as mules. So these mules I can just go to, and I know that I can always go into a Cunna, and I can build here, and I can drill down and get those Deep Space Nine hyperspanners I could run it from the mission during critical chronotons, but that only comes up once a month or less, so much easier to replicate each day. For your free-to-play accounts, you're going to get a base. If you join a good full fleet with a full star base, you're going to get 4 replications a day, and then as you complete collections, you'll get a couple more. Also, if you have VIP players, the spenders get a few more as well. I think up to a maximum of 9, maybe 10. So there's a lot of work that you can do there each day to kind of pay it forward to yourself the next time Galaxy runs around to get those really expensive items out of the way. Another reason why I keep it kind of open here is he's also got our good friend here, Single Pot Whiskey. So I'll either just replicate those whole or drill down and just get my coffees out of them if I need to. A couple of those are my favorites here. So I do like, here's a good use for Wesley. Don't just airlock him anymore. Now you can just use his build here and jump in and get your Enterprise hyperspanners, again, just an away-only item, really hard and really expensive to obtain. And one more good example for you. Here's that champagne. So if you don't want to replicate the entire champagne, you can just drill down and just get the Type 0 hologram, or holoprogram here, and just get that instead. So let's jump back over to chronometrics. I want to show you how exactly to find the crew that you already have in your roster that are sitting around at 1 star. Maybe it's a purple, maybe it's a gold, preferably a gold, because golds are going to sit around a whole lot longer unfused and unfrozen. They'll be there reliably for you, and we're going to look at a tab on chronometrics that I call mules. So here, if you look in your tabs along the bottom, and here on the far right side we have this mules category. Let me move you over real quick so you can see exactly how this is set up. So zoom in a little bit. So it goes on to describe what mules are here, but you already know by watching the video. They're just crew you leave open that you can expect to have open for a very long time, that you don't need to fully level. Maybe they don't have gauntlet use, or you don't want to run them in events that feature that persona. So what you want to do, this is already available here. You could do a couple of filters here to figure out, maybe I just want to find those Galaxy items that I'm a little bit short on, and these are the items that maybe I want to find the one that's the best value, and then find a crew that I can use to reliably farm it up. So here we can look and see the credits per cron column is a really good way. I've got this sorted kind of a little heat fader here. So the later ones are the ones that are safer to replicate, because you're going to get a better value. If you were just running crons on the mission, it would be more expensive to try to farm up a single copy of this hyperspanner than it would be this IDIC 1, just because of the drop rate on the mission. So you can see here the CPI, also the crons per item, relatively more expensive. This identification code 1 is the most expensive of the bunch here, but notice it's also one of the oldie ones that's a 1 star. So replicating it is going to be slightly more expensive, which is why the credits per cron is a great metric to go off of. So just pick the lowest number and then see here what you have the lower amount of. So in this case, I always need hyperspanners. They're one of the things I'm constantly short of, and it's always a great value. And so one of my favorite crew, let's rely on here. So here's Lieutenant Wesley Crusher for that Enterprise version of it. And then we can scroll over and just see who you haven't even started leveling. And yep, here's Captain Akana here. So he's going to be good for the Deep Space Nine copy. You can do this for faction-only items. They'll appear in here if we uncheck all these. And you scroll down, it'll tell you which items are faction-only. So Encode Communicate 2 does show up in cadet missions also, but they can also run thin, and they're kind of a rare drop as well. Holoprograms, of course. I need some medical experiments too, of course, always. And that ever-present science experiment too. Looks like Harcourt Fetman Munch shows up very frequently. He might be a great mule candidate for my next one to set up. Anyways, I hope this helped you to kind of use those replications. Don't let them go to waste. If you are at the end of the day, you got a couple of minutes, just bang out a couple of replications on a really rare item. And the next time you're in an event, you'll be glad you did. Thanks for joining me today. Live long and prosper.